Yeah, good morning, all of you. Today, I would like to discuss brief review regarding the business research methods. So, can you imagine? Can you recognize him? Who is he? Yeah, he is the man here, the behind the Reliance, Dhirubhai Ambani. And what he says, think big, think fast, think ahead. Ideas are no one's monopoly. As you remember that ideas came from only human brain. So ideas are no one monopoly. Everyone have an idea. So if you have an idea, if you want to convert it to reality, you have to work hard, and definitely it will be converted into a reality. And now coming to here, what is research? And research is nothing but here, see, finding the answers to the questions. Just find the answers to the questions, or otherwise simply you can say that search for knowledge, or it is a systematic search for truth, or you identify the truth, or which you find the truth which are hidden so far. Or you can also say that here, see, research is nothing but here, see, new and original information, ideas about the world we live in or obtain it. Or simply you can say that research is search for new knowledge, and it can simply define here the research is a scientific and systematic search for information on a specific topic. And then see why research is required here. See, if you then basic research, simply applied research, and application development research here, see, you can improve the quality of the life. So how to get it here? See, the basic research is required here, amount of knowledge. And applied oriented, you can talk about the applied, we required here then advancement of the technology and application development here, see, utility of the applications. And then you have to get the quality of the life. For that here, see, funding and advancement of the technology. And then, okay, then say a simple example for this, so a little bit example for the research here, see, or otherwise research problem, how to identify. A general manager of a car producing company was concerned with the complaints received from the car users that the car they produced has some problems with the sound at the dashboard and the rear passenger seat after a few thousand kilometers of driving. Then what he has to identify here? What are the factors he can study, he can examine? For that, he obtained the information from the company workers to identify the various factors influencing the problem. What are the factors related to that particular problem? For that, he has to formulate the problem and generated the guesses like a hypothesis. Yeah, you remember that a hypothesis is nothing but just like an assumption, but not exactly equivalent to the assumption. So, but before starting the research or before solve the problem, you had to guess something. You are assume something, and you work on that based on the hypothesis, and you find your solutions. For that, here, see, for the general manager here, he construct the checklist and obtain the requisition information from the representative samples of cars. After that, he analyzed the data. What is the collected data? Interpret the results in the light of the hypothesis and reach the conclusions. That is a simple example here. See, and what is research? So several times already I mentioned here the research. Again, you have to see it is a systematic because it follows certain steps that are logical in order. As you are aware that logical order, research is always logical, one after another, logical sequence only. And the steps are understand the nature of the problem. First of all, you have to understand the nature of the problem to be studied and identify the required area of the knowledge. The research, it may be a societal research, or maybe academic research, or maybe industrial research. So what are the problems encountered in the industry? Then you identify the problem and find the solution for the particular problem. Our society is also facing so many problems, or we require here then natural resources, and then you identify that, and what are the truths which are hidden so far, then you identify that benefited to the society. And also here, see, academic research. If you academic research, so if you are talking about in terms of marketing problem, and then you require here the thorough knowledge regarding the marketing area. Or if the problem related to the finance, and you have to identify the area, I mean the financial concepts, all concepts, then then you can easily work out at that. After gathering the knowledge in this concerned area, Then the second step is reviewing literature to understand how others have approached the same type of problem or such type of dealt with the same such type of problems, and what are their approach and what are their findings and what are their conclusions. Just you go through it and a brief review literature, that is helpful for the research, for the researchers. And once you collect the review literature, then collecting the data in organized manner, organized, but in the research it requires only organized manner only, but not unorganized manner. And you have to collect the information only in organized manner and controlled manner, and so as to arrive validations. The data collection, as you are aware, that there are two ways you can collect: primary data as well as the secondary data. And most of the research, I mean, as you are aware, that what is the primary data? Primary data is nothing but it is a first hand information which is not published elsewhere. For the researchers, his requirement, he design the questionnaire and collect the data according to his questionnaire, and no deviations from that. And that is only for his purpose only it can be utilized. That is nothing but it is the primary data, first hand information. And on the other hand, secondary data, secondary source of information, and it is already published data, and we have the vast data is available. You extract whatever the information you require from that only secondary data. And a lot of vast number of sources for collecting the secondary data, which namely you can get the data from books, magazines, journals, newspapers, or even annual reports, or even net. You can get the information from that. And some of the research is required only secondary data, some of the research is required primary data. Most of the researchers required both primary as well as secondary data. And once you are able to collect the data, the next step is analyzing the data appropriate to the problem, related to the problem. And once collect the data, after collecting the data, you have to analyze the data. And once you are able to analyze the data, for that you have to use some statistical tools. Whatever the tools is required for that, you have to use appropriate to the data. And after finding the solutions or your results, and then after that you have to draw the conclusions regarding that particular problem. And then conclusions only concern the problem, or if it is possible to make generalization. Research is always a generalization. If it is possible, can be converted into generalizations. And simple definition, Redman and Maury. And the research is nothing but systematic effort to gain new knowledge and organized scientific investigation to solve the problems, test hypotheses, develop or invent new products. This is nothing but here the research, right? And just criteria of good research. So once you are able to good research, when you are termed as a criteria, what type of criteria you have to follow, and clearly define the purpose. Purpose clearly defined first, and after that research process detail. As you know, that research process is nothing but starting to from identification of the problem to interpretation of the results and report writing, and all those steps, every steps you have to follow. And research process clearly you had it. And the third step, the third criteria here, see, research design thoroughly planned. What is research design? It's just like a blueprint of the research. So how to work out the research and what type of aspects you have to touch, everything you can put on that and design. There are different types of designs are there, lateral discuss. And then the researcher needs a high ethical standards. High ethical standards is required, then only you can, that is also a good criteria. And the researchers frankly reveal the limitations. What are the limitations? Research is always required of limitations and setbacks and problems he has to encounter. And don't hide the problems and limitations for the researcher. He has to frankly reveal the limitations. And adequate analysis is also required here, say, the decision makers. Okay. And findings presented clearly. What are your findings? You have to present very clearly, and after that justification of your conclusions. And of course the researcher experience is reflected in this regard. The researcher's experience is also, experiential research is always reflects that particular context. And generally now we are talking about here problems in research. What are the problems you had to encounter while during the research? Normal problems. Uncontrollable variables. Yeah, then there are two types of variables, as you are aware, that controllable variables, uncontrollable variables. Controllable variables are within the human hand, uncontrollable variables are beyond the human hand. but sometimes uncontrollable variables, how we can cope with that particular variables, and you have to work with the human beings or a team of work, and human tendencies is also more important. And once you are do the research, it requires more funding or money, as well as the time also you have to spend, and insufficient interaction between the university research and develop university research departments and business establishment. This is another gap here. There is a gap between industry academia. Yeah. So it always required industry academia interaction is more important. Industry academic interaction is more important, and what so that is also lagging in this. And another small part in this is lack of confidence on the part of business units to give information. Most of the business units, they don't want to reveal their information. They generally hide the information. Why? Because they don't believe uh, the researchers or otherwise the persons which are going to approach them. If they don't believe, they never reveal the entire information. They maybe hide the information. So, what is the role of research management? Role of research in management. So, the value of business research for managers. Research is a systematic inquiry whose objective is to provide information to solve managerial problems. So, nowadays the managers has to face a lot of problems. What are the problems for the managers here? To how to improve the productivity and how to increase the profitability, how to decrease the cost of the manufacturing unit based on the availability of the resources or requirements. For that, here see, then you identify the problem. The business research methods can be employed, and that can be follow the four stages. The first stage is identification of the problem, or otherwise you can identify the opportunities. Once you identify the problem or opportunities, the second step is diagnosing and assessment of the problem or opportunities. Assessment of the opportunities. Once diagnosing, then selection and implementation of the course of action. How to select that particular and how to implement the courses of action. And finally, evaluating the course of action. That is more important for evaluating part of it. These are the some real life examples of where the research can be used. Almost all functional areas of the business, being an MBA students, you know that all functional areas, general business, general business conditions and corporate research and financial and accounting research and management of organizational behavior, or otherwise sales and marketing research, information systems research, and corporate responsibility, etc. And thank you. And